Hey, you. Welcome to the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast. I'm Cynthia, your host, and I run Digital Bloom IQ, where I help health and wellness businesses get found in Google and heal more of the world. This is episode 172 of the podcast, and today we're going to be talking about what are keywords. And kind of similar to last week's podcast, this is kind of taking a step back and covering some of these more foundational parts of SEO, and that's totally fine because I really believe that if you don't understand these, these foundational questions, it can be hard to get to the more advanced stuff. And although I've been talking about keywords and SEO and all this for a while, I did want to kind of go back and create a more foundational episode. So there are no stupid questions. Everything is fine. And so if you're listening to the podcast for the first time, welcome, welcome. Super excited to have you here. If you're a repeat listener again, so happy that this is kind of your space to learn about SEO and marketing and just hang out. I love that. So here are some other episodes that are kind of great places to start if this topic is something you're just getting your toes wet in. So like I said last week, I did an episode called What is SEO? That's episode 171. And that is a great starting point for those of you who have heard of SEO and you're like, okay, I kind of get it, but I'm not sure. So that is my definition and how I work and how I think about getting ranked in Google, right? So that's a great place to start. The other one, if you're specifically interested in keywords, there is a few episodes that I do called Review Keywords with Me. The latest one is back at episode 146. And so basically those are episodes where I share my own keyword journey and kind of how I've measured progress. And there's like 4 or 5 of those. There's also YouTube versions of those episodes. So if you go to my YouTube, bit.ly/dbiq YouTube, I'll be, there, all those episodes are there. You just need to search for them. And so there I actually share my screen, and it's kind of a great way to see, how I view my own keywords. And I do also want to mention that in the next few weeks, so for this month, well, this month's almost over, but for February, all the episodes are going to be about keywords. So I've just been really inspired to go back and cover some of these foundations because I want to help you guys really get clear about how this is working for your business and helping you reach all your goals. So let's dive in. The last thing I want to mention is that I have a really cool training happening this week. So if you haven't heard of it already, it's called The Magic of Your Website, and it's a free 3-part training. I've just had so much fun with you guys, kind of interacting, answering your questions, and there's still time to register. So basically this training is, it's slightly foundational. I would say it's kind of like medium level. So it's not super beginners, but it's not super advanced. And I just cover how to make your website just an awesome place that you really believe in, that you love your clients and your audience to hang out in, and how to like reinvigorate that inspiration and that magic, but also how to take practical steps to make your website SEO friendly and just great overall. So you can go to my site, digitalbloomiq.com/website-magic. excuse me, and you can actually sign up there, and I'll be keeping that page open for the next few weeks as I get into selling my course, my SEO DIY course called Homegrown Traffic, which I'm so excited about because I've made some changes and I just think it's great. So let's move on. Let's talk about keywords. What are keywords? So said plainly, keywords are words or phrases that people search to find content on the internet. So that's it. That's what keywords are. So they can be like one word, or they can be several words. I think that Someone asked me about that once. It's like, it's keywords, but it's, or keyword, but it might be more than one word. And I'm going to give you some examples in a little bit, but that's basically what it is. So keywords aren't just relevant to Google and SEO, but really there are many digital platforms where we're searching and finding. So like YouTube, Pinterest is another one. If we think about social media, hashtags are kind of like keywords, although how someone searches in Instagram is very, very different than how they search in Google. But keywords are basically these words and phrases that allow us to understand what our ideal client is searching for and to really create great content. Because if we can identify the questions, the content, the objections that people are having around our services, our products, and our courses, then we're really able to target those questions and those phrases to show up in these platforms. And, in this case, we're specifically talking about Google because we know that people turn to Google very often to ask questions. As of date, there are actually over 5 billion searches per day. So people are using Google, people are asking, and they're wanting answers. And so if you are passionate about helping people and about giving them resources, having a website and answering those questions is probably relevant to you. So I'm not going to talk about like how to prioritize SEO because that's a very personal business decision and it depends on a lot of things. But I think that just having a website and answering those questions can be just such an impactful way. And one of the reasons I love SEO so much is the timing of it is just so on. So someone searches for you and bam, you're showing up and you're in their home, you're with them, you're guiding them through what's going on and all that. So if we compare it again to social media, it's very different. The timing is different and the volume of content that we put out there is just based on the algorithm of these social platforms. So of course Google has a different algorithm, but what I'm trying to say is that the timing is very, very perfect because someone's searching for something and then you're able to answer. All right, so let's talk about some examples. So let's say you are looking for a local therapist because your son or one of your children have some behavioral issues that you want to work on. And let's say you work or you live in New York. So you might search New York, NYC child behavioral therapist. And so that would be something you would search directly in Google and you would get some options of different therapists. Maybe you would go into the local, so it would show you like the map. So you'd actually be able to see different like clinics or offices. And then maybe you would even click through to someone's website and get a sense of what they're about, read a couple blog posts, get a sense for their style because you really care about your son seeing someone who's a professional and who can help them. So, and the last thing you might also do is look at some of these review sites. So there's a lot of doctor sites nowadays that give you kind of like a rating or they rate different doctors through the Google My Business. So again, if you go to the Google map, if you're searching in Google, right, it's different on different, inside of different browsers. But in Google, you're going to see the map and then you'll be able to click into the business. And then the business also has like stars and ratings, right? So you can read through those. And you might actually do quite a bit of research, right, before you decide. So this is a perfect example of a keyword that if you are a therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, you want to think about, how you're targeting that, about your Google My Business listing, which is really important and something I help with a lot of my local SEO clients. And it's all part of the ecosystem, right, of your online presence as a business. So that's one example of a keyword. And so again, those are 4 words, NYC child behavioral therapist, but that is actually considered a keyword, so singular. All right, so let's look at another example. Let's say you are exploring some breathing exercises for anxiety. So maybe your keyword here is breath meditation for anxiety. And so there you might actually get some YouTube videos. Probably you'll also get some websites with different breathing meditations for anxiety. And you might actually end up finding someone who specializes in anxiety and talks about how they work with anxiety and like what is anxiety and that sort of thing. So that's interesting, right? And that's another type of keyword that would probably go more towards a blog or like a resource page on a site. So those are some examples of keywords. I hope that was helpful to you. And so one of the easiest ways to kind of like explore keywords that are relevant for your own business is just to like search about the things you blog about. So take your last 3 blog posts and just put them in Google and see what comes up, like see what your competition is doing. And this can maybe be triggering to some of you. I totally get it. I've been there. I mean, I am still there. I get triggered. At times. I'm human. But if you can just like take a step back for a second and not think about that, it's kind of curious and it's interesting to see, where you could potentially land in this area. If you took action on the last episode and you set up that search console, you're going to actually see keywords that you're already ranking in. And that's actually something we're covering during the magic of your website training. I'm going to get you to look at your search console and your Google Analytics. Don't worry, it won't be painful. But just having this data tool, as long as you don't make it mean anything and it's not triggering to you, it can be really useful. It can give you a lot of information. And then you can reflect back on what you can improve, or even like what other things could you talk about. All right, so let's briefly talk about the types of keyword searches. And this is actually something that I want to do another episode about. So if you want to hear more about this, I would love for you to leave me a comment in my Instagram and say, yes, I want to hear all about the different types of keyword searches. Or, if you want to hear about something else, please go to my Instagram. That's probably the place I'm most active in. The handle is digitalbloomIQ. And just go to my latest post, and you can even create a story if you want, screenshot yourself listening to, well, not yourself, you're going to screenshot the screen of the podcast and then tag me, and then just in the story itself say like, I want to hear about X topic. So anyway, a quick brief explanation of the types of keyword searches. So you're going to notice that some keyword searches are kind of more about getting information. So like, how do I fix a leaky faucet? That's very clear that someone wants like instructions, right? Versus another keyword that is more transactional. So something like cheap USB cords. So there, with the second one, it's obvious that that person knows what they want and they're kind of ready to buy. And especially for those businesses that are product-based businesses, you want to really have that awareness, because you're going to use the type of keyword search, the intention of the keyword search very differently, and the content you're going to show someone obviously is very different. So just think about that. That's kind of like the bonus step of all this, of like, why do we think this person is searching this? Like, what are they expecting to see? And Google, because of all the updates they're making this year and, last year too, they're making a lot of headway on natural language processing. They have a lot of new technology around just how they understand, like, what is the person searching for? And so the more clear we are, and we're using our brains to understand, like, what are they expecting on this blog post? Because I think, again, a lot of people where they struggle with keywords is like, okay, this is the keyword, but what do I write about? And so again, visualizing and thinking about why would someone search this can help you connect the dots there. So that's what I've got for you for what are keywords. I hope that was helpful. And a little sneak peek. So next week, I'm going to be talking about keywords like I will for the rest of February, but I will be talking about where to find keywords. So this is for some of you just like a big thing, right? So you're like, I get keywords. I'm like wanting to incorporate them more, but I have no idea where to look for them. And I'm going to be doing next week's episode all about this. So stay tuned. That will be episode 173, correct? Yes, 173. Thank you so much for listening. I love having you here, and catch you next week. Bye. Hey, this is Cynthia, and I wanted to once again thank you so much for coming on and listening to this episode of the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast. I spend a lot of time creating these episodes and editing them and publishing them, so I would love for you to leave me a review, whatever platform you're listening to your podcast on, whether it's iTunes or something else. Go ahead and click on that review bar, give me some stars, and leave a little comment. That really helps other people just like you find the podcast and just helps them grow their business. And if you want to find out more about this episode and more about what I do, get links from the show notes that we mentioned in this episode, you could head on over to digitalbloomIQ.com/podcast. And there, the latest podcast should be published. If not, you'll need to scroll through and find your podcast number. Thank you so much for listening again, and I'll catch you on the next episode of the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast. Bye.